Original spiritual concepts happen here. This is why the white Christ that Michelangelo painted from black to white has to be scattered throughout the African communities of America, because now the enemy becomes the deity. Why is it that Bartholomew de las Casas authorized Michelangelo to paint Jesus from black to white? What time period was it? It was 1505, and what was happening in 1505? The slave trade was taking place. How can you enslave African people with a black Christ on the scene? So they knew that the spirit of African people had to be enslaved, have the final stage of enslavement of the person's being, where their God concept cannot reflect the image of themselves. And I am not supposed to have a connection with that. I am not supposed to talk about the historical connections with that. I am supposed to be numb with that. I am supposed to walk through here like white tourists and look and smile and say that is nice, with no spiritual connection, and then go back to America and see why the hell is in America and why we're killing each other and why white folks are perpetrating death and genocide on us? Because the history is still going on. The final imperialist stage is the New World Order. They want the whole planet now. At one time, they wanted Africa. They wanted the heartbeat of Africa, and that's our brothers and sisters. Then they wanted the natural resources of Africa. So that's what the Berlin Conference, where they divided up Africa. These borders weren't here. We are the children in relationship to the spiritual realm, because we are not there, like a child who's not an adult. So we are children in relationship to the ancestors who are in the spiritual realm, who are not listening, because like a child who lets another child detour them away from their parents. So our enemy, who has now made themselves the deity, and we have only listened to them and not our ancestors, we're catching hell. And that's why we're catching hell. Because we've only listened to the enemy who's put us in this, and not the ancestral cause. And that's what we've got to connect to. We now see that the foundation of African spirituality started here. You came from Kemet, you saw it. Now you see the corruption and how it was turned against us. You want to talk about that black stuff? That's what we hear. You going to Africa? Why are you going to Africa? You must be crazy to be going to Africa. Why don't you go to France? You should be going to England. Trained to go to the land of our slave masters. This is what we hear when we come back home. Why are you going to Africa? You crazy going to Africa. But we have broken beyond the boundary, because we must educate. We must re-educate. Our Africans in diaspora, all over South America, North America, of Africans all over the world, must come together. We are the majority on this planet. We are not a minority, we're a majority. And when that majority comes together, then the salvation and the liberation of African people that Kwame Nkrumah spoke of, the uniting of Africa, we find our way.
this is true, then what happened between that time and now that things seem to be so difficult? As I said, everything seemed to be easy in deciphering and analyzing once we put into motion that part of us that the philosophers tried to deny, the part they call common sense.